Jared Bridegan was on his way back to St. Augustine when he came upon a tire in the middle of the road in a quite residential neighborhood. As he tried to move the tire, he was shot multiple times in what cops call a targeted killing. Jared's toddler was still strapped into her car seat when a passerby came upon the scene about 3 minutes later. The car's emergency lights were flashing when officers arrived, and the tire remained in the middle of the road near where Jared was lying next to his open driver's door. Let's get into it. Jared Galen Bridegan was born on June 29, 1988 in Warrensburg, Missouri to Gaylord and Joanne Bridegan. He graduated in 2007 from Douglas Anderson School of Arts, and in the spring of 2014, he graduated from Utah Valley University with a bachelor's degree in digital media. Jared was an accomplished user experience designer and served as a senior user experience designer at Canopy, director of user experience at Web.com, chief technology officer at Clean Simple Eats, and was currently a senior design manager at Microsoft at the time of his death. Shanna Gardner grew up in an affluent Mormon community in Utah and is the heiress to a successful papercraft empire. Her parents are the co-founders of the highly successful Stampin' It Up arts and crafts company, which has an estimated annual revenue of more than $100 million. Shanna met Jared in 2009 while visiting her friend in Florida. At first, Jared wasn't interested, but Shanna wined and dined him, flaunting her charmed life. Jared eventually warmed up to Shanna, and they fell in love. He moved to Utah, and the couple tied the knot in a 2010 fairy tale wedding at the majestic Salt Lake City Temple. They bought a $800,000 house in Highland, Utah near her parents, and each drove a Mercedes, but neither of them had a job. Shanna's parents provided the newlyweds a monthly stipend of more than $8,500, in addition to access to credit cards and other substantial financial perks, including giving Jared $100,000 to start a business. At some point, they moved to Connecticut from Utah, where Jared's brother and wife were living, and had twins, who were 9 at the time of Jared's death. Once Shanna gave birth to their twins, Liam and Abigail, the pair decided to move to Florida after their son was diagnosed with a heart condition that required him to live at sea level. In search of a fresh start, Jared, who was originally from Jacksonville, persuaded Shanna to move to his hometown. He was studying online for a master's degree at Savannah College Art and Design. They bought another $800,000 home in Ritzy Ponte Vetra Beach, south of Jacksonville, but the move didn't save their marriage. Jared remained a devout Latter-day Saints member, while Shanna began straying from her faith. She stopped going to church and started zestily working out. She grew frustrated with Jared, who had gained weight and was more focused on trying to start a business. She had joined CrossFit, and Jared brought her a set of personal training sessions as a gift. After 6 years together, their marriage fell apart after Jared found emails implying Shanna was having an affair with her CrossFit trainer. Shanna told police she married Jared after 2 months of dating because she was desperate and had only had a tepid interest in him at the time. She described Jared as a hermit during their marriage and said he only wanted to hang out with her or play with his toys. She claimed prior to her relationship with the trainer, Jared, a devout Mormon, would try to police her clothing choices, and that Jared would not let her have friends and was suggestive on how she should dress. Despite their disputes, Shanna said Jared was never abusive or violent, even stating she could count on one hand the times he yelled at her. Shanna filed for divorce in February 2015. The divorce between Jared and Shanna eventually moved from a divorce to a custody case. The court filings ranged from arguments over where to send their twins to elementary school to accusations of mental and financial manipulation. Despite the festering animosity, both spouses remained in the marital residence as they squared off in divorce court. Shanna demanded exclusive occupancy of the home, primary custody, and accused Jared of threatening to withdraw cash from their twins' trust funds for his own use. In one 2015 document, Shanna accused Jared of disturbing and abusive behavior, including regularly interrogating and recording the twins after actively coaching them on what to say. Jared denied the allegations and claimed his own motion that Shanna installed surveillance devices in the children's bedroom and his car and threatened him in a disrespectful manner in front of the children. Shanna likewise denies the allegations. Friends and family say that despite the struggle over his nasty divorce, Jared's main priority was being the best parent to his children, even if that meant moving back across the country to support them. His focus was on his children, and everything he ever talked about revolved around those two. Friends said that Jared was willing to forgive the betrayal for the sake of their children, but Shanna wanted out. Her explanation for the split: "We don't love each other anymore." The house they shared was purchased through a trust associate with her family, yet Jared claimed half of its value after their divorce. Shanna, who also ran a baking company called Beach Bake 904, would later leave the Mormon faith and eventually marry Mario Fernandez, who she met at a Jacksonville Beach CrossFit gym. She stated to police they tied the knot after briefly dating, and the marriage was driven largely by his desire to help her with her kids. Shanna only married Mario for child custody reasons, so that it would look good in court and her parents would give her more money. She stated that they did not know each other very well when they were married. Multiple people stated that Shanna was asking around about people who would be willing to kill Jared for money. When she was not asking if someone would kill her husband, Shannon was complaining to others about how terrible Jared made her life and how his actions frustrated her goals as a mother. A worker at the tattoo shop claimed Shanna said she just wanted Jared to shut up and reportedly asked the staff if they knew anyone who could shut him up. A couple years later, Jared expressed a desire to start dating again and took the plunge to sign up for dating apps. One of those dating apps matches in early 2017 was with Kirsten, who at the time lived in Charlotte, North Carolina, and worked at Microsoft. The two spent a lot of time talking on the phone before he made a 6-hour drive to her in Charlotte, North Carolina, for their first date. A few months later, Kirsten requested that her Microsoft job be fully remote, moved to Florida, and married Jared in October in 2017. They decided to wait a year before having children. So meanwhile, they just enjoyed being newlyweds and spending time with Jared's twins. They had their first daughter, Bexley, in August 2019, and their second daughter, London, in August 2021. As part of their custody agreement with Jared's ex-wife, they would get the twins every other week, and during their off weeks, they would see the twins on Wednesdays for date night. Since Jared's death, Kirsten has repeatedly begged the Gardners to allow her contact with Jared's twins, Liam and Abby. They have custody of the children, stepchildren who Kirsten loved and effectively lost the day her husband was murdered. February 16, 2022, after dropping off his twins at Shanna's, Jared called Kirsten from the car while driving home with their 2-year-old daughter Bexley in the back seat. During the quick call, Jared sounded happy, recounting the good night he had had with 3 of the 4 children for their bi-weekly date night. There was a tire in the road blocking Jared's way. Prosecutors say that the tire was put there on purpose to get Jared out of the car. When he stepped out of the car, he was shot multiple times. When police arrived, Good Samaritans were already there and were taking care of the little girl. She later told police, "Daddy opened my car door and I heard a boom." Then, after she saw Jared lying on the ground, she said, "Daddy was sick." Police not only had surveillance audio from neighbors, but they also obtained a surveillance video of the ambush murder. The video showed the muzzle flashes and the shooter running off. Security footage captured an image of a blue Ford F-150 made between 2004 and 2008 leaving the area around the time of the shooting. Shanna, her husband Mario, and Henry Tannen were all charged for the death of Jared. Now, Henry was first to be arrested on January 25th, 2023 with conspiracy to commit murder, second-degree murder with a weapon, accessory after the fact to a capital felony, and child abuse. He had rented a home on the 5200 block of Pontiac Avenue from Mario and acted as the gunman in the killing. He confessed to the plot after being arrested for an unrelated crime. Henry's car matched both the truck seen at the crime scene and the tire jerk found in the road that night. Police linked Henry to Mario after finding evidence that he was paying him for something. Police obtained Henry's bank records and found 3 checks totaling $10,000 from First Choice Home Rentals, LLC, which is owned by Mario and Shanna. There were checks for $2,000 and $3,000 that cleared on March 28 and a check for $5,000 that cleared on April 4th. The state's attorney office said the checks were signed by Mario. Henry initially rejected the request but agreed once the amount had been set at $150,000. He stated that in exchange for the money, Mario would supply a firearm. He told officers that the initial plan was to kidnap Jared, take him to another location, and murder him. According to his statement, this conversation took place in late 2021, but after returning from a Hawaii trip in February, Mario approached Henry and stated that this needed to happen this week. If he didn't get it done, his marriage was going to end. Jared was killed 4 days after Shanna and Mario returned from Hawaii. After Jared's death, Shanna was seen smiling in vacation photos while Jared's current wife, Kirsten, was left to pick up the pieces. Shanna, her husband, the twins, and her parents, Shelley and Sterling Gardner, celebrated spring break at Club Med, Sandpiper Bay. Days after Jared was buried, he posted photos of the vacation on her blog, showing them paddle boating, kayaking, and building sandcastles. Weeks later, Shanna cut off all contact between the Tens and their half-siblings. Henry agrees to testify truthfully against any co-defendants. He faces 15 years to life in prison, but not the death penalty. The state dropped 3 other charges against Henry in exchange for his cooperation. Henry will be sentenced after he testifies in other cases related to Jared's murder. Mario was arrested in March 2023 on charges of first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, solicitation to commit a capital felony, and child abuse. He was quoted as saying, "The kids were better off with Jared out of the picture." Before her husband's arrest, Shanna quietly moved across the country with the twins to a $1 million home recently purchased by her parents in West Richland, Washington. Shortly after the murder, neighbors said they no longer saw Mario at the couple's Jacksonville Beach home, which they co-own, and he did not join her for the cross-country move. However, Shanna was arrested on August 17, 2023 with the same charges as her husband. She was brought from Washington to Florida, where she's being held without bond. Lawyers tried to fight the extradition after Florida State's Attorney Melissa Nelson stated she will be seeking the death penalty. The attorneys for Shanna was also trying to convince Judge London Kite to set a bond and release her as she awaits trial for her alleged role in the murder of Jared. Her bond was denied in May 2024. Judge Kite took a week to go over the 6 hours of testimony given by both the defense and state attorney's office. She cited that the defendant is a flight risk, according to court documents. She also pointed out to the fact that Shanna's children lived in Washington State. She doesn't own a home here and doesn't have a job here. The child abuse charge stems from Exley's witnessing of the crime. Shanna was arrested a year and a half after Jared was killed, execution-style, minutes from her home. Shanna and Mario both face the death penalty if they're convicted. Both have pleaded not guilty to the charges and are due to stand trial. Shanna and Mario have separate attorneys. Shanna is actually being represented by high-profile defense attorney Jose Baez, who was the attorney for the Casey Anthony case. Joe Baez held a press conference on the courthouse steps and said favorable evidence was being withheld and accused the lead detective of lying under oath during a bond hearing for Shanna. Next hearing is coming up for this case on August 16 due to allegations of discovery violations. So right now, Shanna and her husband are waiting to go to trial, and Henry is just waiting for these two to be sentenced so that he can be sentenced, and he's looking at 15 years. Stay tuned for what happens with this case. Do you think Shanna and Mario will be found guilty? Comment your answer and thoughts below. Okay guys, that is it for me. Don't forget to share this story with your family and friends. Hit that notification button so you get notified when I drop a video. And do me a favor, if you have not already done so, please subscribe. Until next time, take care of you.